Happy New Year for the second time today. My name is Neil Nevitt, and I am keeping a second New Year's resolution I have made to myself. This one is about a novel I wrote. The first New Year's resolution, if you saw my previous video, is about health and healthy me in 2023. So please tune in and take a look at that if you have any interest at all. Otherwise, this is my literary blog spot, if you will. I wrote a novel during the COVID pandemic lockdown. First time ever I have actually completed a written work I've undertaken. And over the decades, I must have started more than I can count novels, books, or even short stories. I'd often just get the first title page with a title idea down, or maybe a paragraph or two, or a couple of chapters, and then shiny object syndrome, I would find something else interesting and take off to explore that. I guess with the lockdown for the pandemic, thank you, COVID. I had nowhere to go, and the shiny objects in my abode became less shimmering, and so I stayed at my computer and I wrote this entire novel. It's called Faith of Our Fathers, and yes, it is to some extent about my father. It's also about a lot of people's fathers. And for those of you who know me, you know that both of my parents, God love them, Carolyn and CQ, were both alcoholics when I was a kid and growing up as a teenager. My dad basically killed himself with alcoholism by the time that I was 20 years old, and my mom mercifully got sober when I was 18 and went away to college at Northwestern. I left town and my mom got sober. That has been the topic for many sessions with many therapists and myself over the years. You can probably imagine. But the culmination of all this, the psychological work, the spiritual work, the introspection, self-examination, whatever, that is the end result of this book that I have written. And so I want to share it with you. Hopefully you'll listen. My goal is to read a chapter a day until the book is finished, and it will be self-published on Valentine's Day, February the 14th, 2023. And I think you'll see as I read along why that date is significant, at least in part. And I hope you enjoy it. Let me read you the introduction that I came up with, just in case it ever were to be a printed novel, paperback. This is what you would find on the back cover that would hopefully entice you to pick it up on the beach and buy it at the CVS or the Walgreens or whatever while you're getting your suntan lotion. Oh, and by the way, just full disclosure, the one thing I have found myself most accomplished at through the process of writing this novel is receiving rejection letters from publishers or prospective publishers. I've got a stack about yay thick of thank you but no thank you letters. So that's why I'm self-publishing. And I don't know, maybe I'm being very egotistical and self-serving, but I think there's a story here that I needed to tell, and maybe somebody out there needs to hear or to read. And that's why I'm offering it to you now. And that doesn't mean you can't buy it on Amazon when it's for sale too. Hope you do. All right, let's get started. Here's the introduction. Excuse me for reading from my iPad, but that's where it is. Faith of Our Fathers, a novel retrospective in love by Neil Nevitt. Jake Soder and Wes Calvert have not seen each other for 10 years, since the day of their 1978 graduation from an affluent, prestigious college preparatory high school in Northwest Atlanta, Georgia. No idea where that is. Now, against a backdrop of the late 1980s encompassing social topics from racial injustice to childhood trauma, this pair of young men, separated by more than a decade, reunite amidst the onslaught of the AIDS epidemic. In high school, they'd been the best of friends. We'd pass each other in the hall, seems like it was most often on a Friday afternoon, if one or both of us was having a bad, awful, or particularly shitty day or week, or even the whole damn month. One of us had only just to look at the other passing in between classes with one hand raised up shoulder high as if pledging some sort of solemn oath and say, "Jazz." And we both knew exactly what that meant. It meant I'd be parked waiting outside Jake's house at 9:30 that night so we could head downtown to drink cheap whiskey and listen to great music at Churchill Grounds Jazz Club. Jake, once the brilliant class recluse. Wes, once the gregarious overachiever, voted the friendliest person in their class. 10 long years later, this unlikely pair rekindle long dormant, explosive passions never previously dared discussed, disclosed, explored, or fully ignited. Both boys' fathers have died during the time spanning their last encounter. Neither boy, now grown into a man, has any true idea the extent to which he must come to grips with tumultuous residue of emotional, spiritual, and psychological damage wrought by evisceratingly debilitating parental assaults before, during, and after their respective fathers' deaths. This book tells the love story between two gay men. It also delves deeply into the psychology of these characters' wounded pasts. Jake and West must triumph, separately or together, over the darkest places of their individual shadow selves before either can trust himself and the other enough to commit lovingly, willingly, devotedly, freely, fully to the chance, once-in-a-lifetime relationship each so deeply desires. That's just a taste. I hope you'll keep tuning in day after day for chapter after chapter. Don't be intimidated. I think there are approximately 60 chapters. It was a long pandemic. What can I say? And I hope you think it's a good story. Anyway, please let me know. Please message me. Please let me know what you're thinking as we go along. And enjoy the ride. I certainly have enjoyed writing it. And now I'm enjoying sharing it with you. Take care.